there's a lot of emphasis on data connectivity, and there's a lot of push from outside the lighting industry and lighting design community. So there's a huge challenge for lighting designers to remain relevant and continue what they do. But before we know, I think the shift is definitely coming. We've been talking about this for many years. As you know, we'll have to change the way we do things quite profoundly, and we'll become, in my opinion, more of conductors of parameters to create, to let either machines or other systems do what we used to do in the past.
Welcome back to another episode of the Virtual Lighting Design Community Podcast, your go-to source for all things lighting design. Today we have a very special guest joining us, Emrah Baki Ulas. Emrah is an established lighting designer and academic. He's a lighting designer at Steensen Varming, where he provides design leadership, management, and advice. Emrah is also a senior lecturer and researcher at the University of Technology, Sydney, or UTS, contributing to the architecture and interior architecture programs. Emrah's passion lies in the integration of theory and philosophy into design practice. He has been a frequent speaker at professional forums, conferences, and universities around the globe, sharing his insights and expertise. His work and projects have garnered international recognition, earning him awards and accolades. We are delighted to have him on the show today to discuss his views on what's next in lighting. He sat down with VLDC's Martin Klaasen at the IESANZ Light in Focus event held in Sydney back in June earlier this year. Before we dive into our conversation with Emrah, I wanted to mention that we have a video version of this episode available on our community platform at www.vld.community. So if you're a visual learner or simply want to see the conversation firsthand, be sure to check that out. I also wanted to take a moment to give a special shout out to our premium supporters who make this podcast possible. We would like to express our gratitude to Aero Light, Creative Lighting Asia, ERCO, and the Signify Lighting Academy for their continued support. And now, without further ado, let's get started with our conversation with Emrah Baki Ulas. Enjoy.
My name is Martin Klaasen, and welcome to the Virtual Lighting Design Community. We are currently in Sydney at the IES event, and I'm interviewing lighting royalty. With me is Emrah. Emrah, please introduce yourself. Who is Emrah and what does he do in his daily life?
Thank you, Martin. Pleasure to be part of this. Emrah Baki Ulas. I'm a lighting practitioner, a lighting designer at Steensen Varming. I'm also a lighting educator at the University of Sydney, teaching into the lighting program and part of the research activities there.
So the theme of this event is what's next? What's the future of lighting? What's the next big thing for you? What are you looking out for?
It's interesting. I mean, it's starting with the event. I think from what we've heard so far, there's a lot of emphasis on data connectivity, and there's a lot of push from outside the lighting industry and lighting design community. So there's a huge challenge for lighting designers to remain relevant and continue what they do. But before we know, I think the shift is definitely coming. We've been talking about this for many years. As you know, we'll have to change the way we do things quite profoundly, and we'll become, in my opinion, more of conductors of parameters to create, to let either machines or other systems do what we used to do in the past.
Do you see already change in your own practice or in the way you teach maybe your students?
As far as practice is concerned, I think, like many others, we started talking about these issues. We actually, this morning, I found myself drawing a flow chart about how to work with machine learning and where to input parameters and what to do and where to intervene in the design process. So I think that will become quite relevant. In the teaching, it's quite interesting because our program, like some others, are in the realm of other similar programs. So we have programs on interactivation,
Yes.
electronic arts, and so on.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cross-pollination there, and we see there's so much input coming from other students doing other studies.
Yeah, I think we have to adapt ourselves to what's coming and probably embrace. So you were here yesterday, and you listened to some of the speakers also today. Any topic that stood out for you that struck a chord with you personally?
As I said, it's. Give me 1 second.
No,
on this one. We'll cut this part and
yeah, I know it doesn't matter because it's not. There's so much information coming to us from different angles. I mean, one is about health and well-being. The other one is about measurements. Then it's something about the data that's coming to us. So
I think what stood out for me is what I also summarized when I had a few minutes to talk on the stage is there is a greater awareness of lighting for sure. The industry is expanding, awareness is expanding. What isn't expanding is the awareness of complexity of this thing and the importance of understanding the intangibles. There was one quote yesterday where one of the speakers said, "You cannot control what you cannot measure."
Right.
I tend to disagree with this. We tend to control what we cannot measure all the time. We have gut feel. We have
exactly.
We have
I can't agree more. Yeah.
So I think lighting designers' responsibility in the future, with all the things that are controlled and measured, is to have means to control the immeasurables.
Yeah. I think that's the contrast between the engineered approach and the creative designer approach. Probably. Yeah. Now we are here as the virtual lighting design community. You have contributed to our last year's season. What are your thoughts about how the virtual lighting design community can contribute to our industry?
Yeah, great. Of course, virtual lighting design community started at a critical time where we have no communication in the industry during the pandemic and all that. So I think it was quite timely, and as we know, the virtual world will be here with us to stay. So I think for sure VLDC will play a major role. What would be really cool and interesting is to be able to create instances like this where you are here in the flesh, you can actually meet in person, but also stay connected in the virtual world, because people are different, and some of us are connecting in one way, others are connecting other ways. So opening the spectrum, I think, is
that's how it. I mean, you're right. We started in the pandemic, but now that we have live events again, the community allows us to keep in touch after these events. So it sort of bridges the time between when we meet in person, and then we can keep in touch virtually in between the events. People can look back at what happened during these events as well. So absolutely. Now I always ask also the people that I interview is what drives them, what gets them out of bed, what's your passion?
I guess the knowledge that what I get out of bed every morning and go to work for is something that is meaningful to me. That I know that the people I work with, I collaborate with, I do things for, find meaningful as well. And it's as I said, it's a play. It's a game. We just try to play it well and play it to our best abilities. And just the thought that I will try to do my best on that day, given the circumstances and ups and downs, and also the fact that it doesn't matter that much. That's to have a bit of humility and have a bit of ease about what we do.
That's a very important ingredient. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's one of the, I guess, just to add, one of the things that many designers like myself and the whole industry is learning, needs to learn, that in the scheme of things, we are tiny. And we should let others take us seriously rather than doing it ourselves.
So, my last question is if there's something you could change in our lighting industry, also in consideration with all those things that are coming towards us in the future. Is there anything in there that you say, oh, if I could do this, that would be so nice?
Yeah, I think it's the gap. It's the gap between the awareness of importance and awareness of complexity. And when you have conversations with a wide variety of people, to raise the awareness of complexity of the issues and understanding of what good lighting takes. There are a lot of good will in terms of passion and enthusiasm and all that, but the rigor, the intellect, the blood and tears that go into actually coming up with the right ways of doing things, and lighting education is the answer at the end of the day. It's going to be very different to how it was in the past, but
to use your own words, the unbearable lightness of learning. Emrah, thank you so much for the interview. Thank you.
And that wraps up another fantastic interview for the Virtual Lighting Design Community Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Emrah Baki Ulas, where he shared his perspectives on the future of lighting. Remember to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode filled with insights and discussions from industry experts. We would also greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave us a review and provide feedback on this episode. Your thoughts and suggestions help us improve and bring you the content you love. Don't forget to join our thriving lighting industry community at www.vld.community, where you can access a multitude of resources and connect with fellow lighting professionals and enthusiasts. Together, we can continue pushing the boundaries of lighting design and shape the future of the industry. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, keep shining bright.